May the Lord be with us in our conversation. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Praise God, praise God, praise God. All right, today we are gathered here to share with you. I want to say we, my wife is on the other side. She's not visible on the camera, but you'll be hearing his voice, her voice, I'm sorry. You'll be hearing her voice from time to time. I may ask her to read something for me or engage me in a discussion. And the discussion that I'm thinking about today, especially today, is the tragedy that God spoke to Abraham about when he told him in Genesis chapter 15, honey, could you read for me Genesis chapter 15, beginning at verse, where am I going? 13? Beginning at verse 13.
Now, Genesis chapter 15.
Hold on, David, before you start reading. Now, if you remember, this is the time God is making a covenant with Abraham. They've divided up the animals according to the covenant, and God establishes this covenant with Abraham. All right, so read for me, honey.
Genesis chapter 15, starting at verse 13. And he said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. And thou shalt go to thy father in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age.
Okay, so God told Abraham that the seed is going to be afflicted for 400 years. All right, they're going to serve a nation that is not theirs and be afflicted 400 years. God also said, and that nation he was going to judge. And afterwards, they're going to come out with great abundance. So you got two promises in there. The one that he's going to judge that nation. The second is that the people are going to come out with substance. Mm-hmm. Right? Great substance. Is that what it says, honey?
It says great substance.
Great substance. That means plenty, plenty. So I believe we have already established, and you can do your research, that the only people that have been taken to a land that is not theirs and serve in affliction for 400 years is the African American. Now you can add some years, take away some years, but that speaks about the whole African contingent that came over on the same slave ships and will separated families throughout the Caribbean and Latin America and South America rather. And so when we're talking about the children of the diaspora, in there will mix the tribes of Judah, the Hebrew people, some of those other tribes, the lost tribes. Who knows how many people will taken from Mother Africa and brought to these lands and be afflicted. And I say Mother Africa because it's important that we recognize that when God said, I'm going to call my son out of Egypt or Africa, at the time it was not known as Africa, Egypt representing the kingdom from the south. And throughout Africa, as people were taken away, Egypt and Ethiopia, the Bible talks about it extensively. And the people were taken away and they were brought to these lands. In these United States in particular, you have well documentation of the first cargo of slaves who were traded for basically food and established, and they continued on this land slaves. Now you say, well, slavery was abolished. Well, if you look at the United States Constitution, it says slavery shall be abolished in every state except for prisoners. So I believe that's what the 13th or 14th Amendment, one of those amendments that uh, certify the continuation of slavery. It was never really abolished per se. So then, so we look at the prisons and we find that for whatever reasons, prison seems to have been bulging and um, well supplied with inmates uh, as they were established and continue under that amendment. Now, why is this important and what does this have to do with Abraham's seed? Well, it's important because God said he's going to judge that nation. And we've already talked about in the past all the different signs and all the different things that are happening to the nation, beginning in 2019 and going forward. It's escalating into not only environmental dangers as we see, earthquake, hurricanes and tornadoes and everything else, and the increased floods, historical floods, and all these disaster after disaster. But we also have the human element uh, in, that is suffering disaster. We're talking about lives being lost and an escalation of violence in the communities, and a call to stop the police abuse and everything else that is taking place. So we are living in some very dangerous times. We are living in some very critical times, and we look back and we say, well, prophecy. What does prophecy got to do with it? Well, God said He's going to judge the nation. Now, you tell me whether or not America is up under judgment, or this is all coincidental, or however you want to define it. However, as a minister of the Lord, it's my responsibility to tell the people of God. Now, I'm only talking to the people of God. So if you're not a child of God, this might offend you. But it's my responsibility to tell the people of God what does say the Lord, as far as how do we overcome and how do we be delivered from the wrath to come, and also inherit the promises of the prophecy.